Whether you're leaving a long-term job, moving to a new place, or embarking on a new chapter, these changes can come with a whirlwind of emotions. In this video, we'll explore how to navigate these changes with resilience and grace. I'll share some insights from my own experience of stepping away from a career that I dedicated nearly 20 years to, and we'll discuss practical strategies to embrace the unknown. So if you're ready to talk about that, let's get into it. Early on, it was instilled in me to work hard and make money to have a roof over your head and provide for your family. Both of my parents always had either multiple jobs or were never home due to having a job because that was their purpose in life. Their purpose in life was to provide for myself and my brother so that we would have a place to live and a place to eat and something to eat, because we grew up not having a lot. We grew up in a former place called Yugoslavia, which is current day Bosnia and Herzegovina. And back in the day, we didn't have a lot. Or my parents didn't have a lot when they were growing up. So therefore, when my brother and I were little, they worked really hard so that they could change our future trajectory so that we could live a better life than they had. And for that, I'm really grateful. And I really respect the work ethic that they had and that they instilled in us, because that really did teach us something. So I worked retail for a really long time. I started retail at a really young age, pushing carts at a grocery store. And eventually I moved my way up doing different things in retail and work in different stores. And eventually I came to work at the beauty retail store called Ulta. And I remember being one of the last paper applicants at the store that I worked at. And that's a really neat, cool core memory that I remember having at that store location. And I have made some lifelong friends, not only working at that store, but just over the course of years at Ulta in general. And so my parents have always instilled a really strong work ethic in myself and my brother because of their work ethic. They've always modeled that to us, and so I had a job from a very early age. I think because my parents modeled having a job for me, I felt like it was important for me to give back to my family as well and show them that I was willing to work hard. So as soon as I could get a job, I was willing to. And I think I got a worker's permit at 14 or 15. I don't remember how old you had to be to get a parent to sign off on a worker's permit. But as soon as you were able to, I was doing that. And I got a job at a grocery store pushing carts, and eventually as a teacher's aide for a summer program working with children in my neighborhood, and then doing different things that I could based on my age and my interests at the time. But I continued going back to retail because I really enjoyed working with people. I was really good at customer service and loved talking to people in general. So that was always a really good fit for me. And I loved beauty retail, and I gravitated toward stores such as Bath and Body Works and Ulta and The Body Shop, which I don't believe is a store anymore. I think they closed down. And those are the three main ones that I worked at. Most recently, it was Ulta. It was one of the first ones that I started at, and that was one of the last ones I worked at as well. The other two were kind of in-betweeners, along with other retailers as well. But Ulta is definitely one of my most core memories and one of the longest ones that I worked for. One of the most core memories that I have working at Ulta is I was one of the last paper applicants at the store that I started at. And at that store, I met some friends that I'm still currently friends with to this day, which is really special to me, and I hold them very near and dear to my heart. I felt like at the time that I got hired and worked my way through Ulta, I was very fortunate to have that job and those relationships in my life, because in that time in my life, I did not have really close bonds with my family, and so those relationships and friendships that I built were very instrumental to my upbringing and to my growth in that time period of my life. And so therefore, I do believe that Ulta in a way shaped who I was and shaped my growth and my identity. impacted my life in a certain way. And those friendships and that job were there for me during certain periods of my life that I didn't really have a lot of people standing by my side, especially during one of the toughest periods of my life, which was losing one of my favorite people in my life. And I worked there during that time, had my support system there during that time because of that store, and was able to get through that time because of those friendships. And for that, I'm so grateful. As I met my now husband, I also worked there, and that was a really interesting time. I got different promotions too as I was dating him, and we moved in together. I started working at the corporate office as me and him moved in together, and I kind of grew up and grew through different roles working at the corporate office and being with him as well, and then getting pregnant and having our children together through different roles within the corporate world as well. As I continued growing up personally and professionally throughout my career at Ulta, I continued taking the opportunities that I could in order to work on my growth. However, I don't know if I ever sat down and considered what my values were and if those values matched what my career growth and trajectory were, or if I just kind of continued based on what I knew and was used to. So I just continued working based on what I knew. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Absolutely nothing wrong with doing a job that you're really, really good at. And I think a person's values can change over time. And I think that may be what happened to me, because at one point I really valued a lot of things that the career that I had built over time provided me. And I was so content and happy and sustained and feeling fulfilled with all of the things that I was doing for my career. However, after so many years of doing that, along with being a mom and a wife and a caretaker for my family, a nurturer, and trying to take care of myself, which, not to sound selfish, but it is kind of a lot, because healing your inner child and healing trauma is kind of a big deal. And if that's not something that you're familiar with, or something that you're not familiar doing, if you're not familiar with the mental health space, you're not someone who struggles with mental health, you're not someone who understands anxiety, overthinking, depression, don't have anyone in your life who does struggle with these things, or you're not neurodivergent in any way, please do not judge anyone who does struggle with these things, or please don't try to underestimate what these things mean if you don't understand, because it's a lot and it's complex and it's different for everyone. And personally, I was not able to handle all of the different areas of my life fully and at 100% or at full capacity, whatever that percentage would be, at any point in my life. And unfortunately, that caused a breakdown that made me have a realization that something had to change in my life. I realized where my values were set and what really mattered to me, and what really did, where the difference had to be made. And what that meant for me was taking care of my mental health and prioritizing my family and nurturing the piece of me and the parts of me that never got nurtured before. And that might sound corny and cheesy and uninteresting or unprofessional or an unreliable reason to quit a career. But to me, mental health and taking care of your identity and your self should be a person's number one priority. So whether whatever change is happening in your life is voluntary or involuntary, I believe that with the right perspective, you can consider this major change as a step in the right direction for the path that you need to be on. The major motivations behind my decision to leave were stress in my life because I was unable to handle the stress that it caused. And that's not to say that this is the stress that everyone feels having a corporate job. I think that this is the way that I reacted to having this stressor in my life, and that maybe I could have continued working on my reactivity while having this career, and it could have gotten better over time. However, this was my decision based on my own beliefs, values, system, and my own choice and free will. And this is where I'm at this point in life, and I'm happy with the choice that I made. And because this video is about the emotional aspect of major changes, I really want to talk about the emotions that I felt leaving my career. Initially, I felt a lot of fear and excitement all at once. I felt fear due to the unknown, and fear because I was scared to actually leave the one and only thing I knew for such a long time. I might get choked up talking about it right now. Oof. But I was so afraid to take this one leap of faith in myself because, number one, have you looked at the economy lately? Have you seen what's happening out in the world? Like, I was so afraid to take this step because of that being one of the reasons. Number two being, yeah, the economy is terrible and I would be taking a major pay cut. Other reasons being, I really love the people that I work with. The people that I work with are phenomenal. Like, ooh, excuse me. Ooh, Brittany. Ew, Brittany. Excuse me. Okay. The people that I worked with are some of the most talented, kind, authentic, like any positive adjective that you can find to describe someone, insert that here, and that is the team that I worked with. Which my team was only one person. Granted, it was one person, but the greater team that we worked with is who I'm referring to. I generally really liked working with everyone that we were with, and I felt grief. Initially, I felt a lot of excitement too because I was stepping into something new that was very, very new to me. And I don't want to talk about what that is because I want to keep that part personal because it is a little personal to me and I don't really want to bring that part into this right now. But what I do want to talk about is after a few weeks of feeling this fear and excitement, I felt a lot of grief. And I think I'm still feeling grief in a way because it feels like a part of me is like gone. This big part of me that like was a big part of my identity that I took on. I took Ulta on as a big part of my persona, I think. And I feel like she died. I feel like she's gone. And she had to be gone in order for this new part of me to kind of come alive. Which sounds so cheesy, but it's true. even just sitting here talking about it, like I feel a little bit better, but I'm really tense. My hands are closed together really tightly. I need to release them and take a deep breath. I need you to, it's because it's fine. It's all already done and over with. There's nothing to have hard feelings about, and it's all good. Like the decision's already been made, you know? And the feelings I feel are just there, and it's okay to feel them. Loss, grief, excitement, fear, they're all normal feelings to have about all of these things that I am going through. My mental health was deeply affected by this transition too. It went in ebbs and flows, it went up and down because initially I felt like I was in a high from going through it. And then I went down into a low again because I felt like I was making the wrong choice and that I was putting our family through her financial hardship and that we were going to be in a terrible situation because of me just putting myself into a really bad negative thought cycle. And then my wonderful support system, my husband, was able to talk me off a ledge and really kind of remind me why we were okay with me doing this. And I need to be journaling more clearly because I'm not doing it enough, or writing a gratuity list every day because clearly I'm not doing that enough. Because if I was, I would be reminding myself every day of this. And it's just so wonderful to hear him say that because sometimes it's nice to be reminded of that and to know that somebody else is in your corner supporting you and your choices and your decision. Not that you need to be validated, you should just be validated within yourself and within your heart and by your own choices, but and I hope to be there one day. I hope to be validated within my own self, and I am there most of the time, but it's nice to have a partner in life who helps me feel that way. Actually, talking about him and helping me get through through these moments in time where I feel this way, is a really nice transition to talk about some other strategies that I use to cope with this life transition, which is seeking support from friends, family, or professionals if you have them in your corner. I always think that seeking support from close friends or family, if you have someone in your family that you feel close with, or your therapist, counselor, or your group therapy connections, are people that are really great to bounce ideas off of or get feedback from for certain situations, because you get a different perspective on what you're dealing with, and they can give you feedback that you otherwise wouldn't probably even think of, or get a perspective that you wouldn't otherwise think of. Everyone thinks differently, which I think is so cool, and you your thought process is different than literally everyone else's thought process. So talking to one other person can really help you sort out your feelings. I believe that talking about big life decisions like this to someone, like a professional or someone close in your circle, can help you stay grounded and be in a better position to make better choices that align better with your values and morals. While coping with difficult life transitions, it's also an important time to take care of yourself, not only with everyday self care practices that we always talk about, like, you know, whatever that may be, like taking a bath or doing your makeup or going for a walk. I'm talking about like taking care of your soul and really finding out what soothes you and doing those things, because you may not have that chance again. If this is the time where you have downtime, do those things now. Don't do the things you would be doing every day if you have the downtime now. Do the things that you wouldn't normally be doing. When I was in the mental health program recently, I had some downtime, fortunately, and when I didn't have the downtime right before that, I was kind of all over the place with what I was doing and was doing way too much all at once, all the time. When I was enrolled in the program, I ended up only doing the program and then maybe going to the gym or doing something for self-care, whether that was the walk, the gym, coloring, or something to be mindful. Again, mindful. So that was either the gym or coloring or something to just be present. And that was it. I was really keeping it to a minimum. And now that some time has passed, I'm being more active again, and also it's summer, so it's a little bit easier. So whatever that self-care practice looks like for you, just do that. I'm not trying to pressure you into doing more or less. I'm just saying find out what soothes your soul and go with it. While I was on this mental health break, I was able to really reassess my life goals and reprioritize my values. And what emerged for me was that running the rat race and working day in, day out for somebody at a 9 to 5 was not filling my cup, and that was not bringing me joy. And I was really looking for something that would bring me joy. I know that that's not everyone's values, and not everyone is looking for something to bring them joy in their everyday life, and not everyone looks for a career that brings them fulfillment. But that's what I found out during my mental health program, that I needed that as part of my life in order to stay mentally healthy. I envision my future to be a lot more peaceful moving forward, because I think that living within my values and morals is going to bring me a lot more happiness and satisfaction and fulfillment in my life. And it's already brought me a lot more joy because I've had so much more time to spend with my kids this summer, and I've been so much more present and in the moment and living with them, and I've noticed my anxiety is lowered. They're a lot more present and in tune as well, and it's just been a great change overall for all of us. And I really hope to just continue on this wonderful positive trajectory we've been on. As I mentioned previously, I do plan to keep my current work project kind of under wraps and personal here. What makes me the most happy about my new role is that it's driven by passion and purpose rather than productivity. It just really makes my heart happy to show up every day and to make a difference. And I think to me that was the most important part in changing careers. I felt like I was stuck in a way where I know that I was valued in a role, even though I felt like I wasn't. And the only reason I felt like I wasn't is because I'm an emotionally driven person. I knew I was valued. On paper, I was valued as a person and in the corporate role that I was in. However, because of the emotionally way that I'm driven and wired, I just didn't feel that value in my role. And so I really needed a role that I could be more hands-on and more, I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but something where I could just have more impact. And I do feel that now, and I'm really, really happy about it. If you're contemplating a similar change, I'd like to offer some insights on how to emotionally prepare for this transition. I think the most important emotional support that I can offer is to remember to seek connections. Seeking support from others is going to be my number one suggestion for emotional support, along with self-reflection. Write down or talk with someone about what your true values and morals are. If you have a therapist, ask their opinion on what you think your next steps should be. If this change was unexpected for you and it's something that you were not aligned with, and you're not currently seeking professional help, I would strongly suggest to seek out a counselor or a therapist or someone to talk to that might help support you on this mental health journey or transitional journey in your life. And maybe even if it was a choice that you made on your own, a therapist might be able to help you figure out the next steps unbiased and maybe able to help you figure out what to do next. I've been in therapy for 8 years now, and I believe that it was the best decision I ever made. Having someone in your corner to support you through any type of instance that you might be going through is so validating and makes you feel seen and heard. It's a really wonderful thing. And if you're struggling finding someone in your area, please feel free to reach out in the comments or send me an email. I'm happy to help you find someone in your area if you need it. Thank you so much for being here today as we talked about how leaving a job, moving to a new place, or embarking on a new chapter can have emotional impacts on you. I hope that talking through some of my reasons for leaving my career, the emotional impact it had on me, coping with the changes, reevaluating my goals and values, and some advice for others facing similar transitions was helpful for at least one of you out there. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time. I hope you will take care of yourselves. Until next time, bye.